Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday Workshops with Whitney. I will be your host, Whitney. On today's episode, we will be discussing how to overcome procrastination. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm trying out different ways of doing the Wednesday workshops so that I can make it a little bit more interesting. So on this week, you will hear me talking and I have a little PowerPoint as well. So thank you all for being here. As I just said, today's topic is how to overcome procrastination. But first, we need to complete our icebreaker question. So here is our icebreaker question for today. If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would it be and why? If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would it be and why? So, since I'm recording this, you can't tell me, but you can always comment on the video if you'd like, and I will answer the question myself. So, if I could live anywhere in the world for a year, I think that I would live in Byron Bay, Australia. I visited one time and I loved it because it's kind of like a laid back beachy town right on the water, and there's a beautiful lighthouse, and I just loved being there, and the people were super friendly. So I think that I would enjoy being there. Next, on to our main topic. So this is one of the articles that I'm going to go over that I found online at Eat This, Not That. I'm also going over another article from positivepsychology.com, and then we will finish with our progressive relaxation exercise. So the title for today's article is The Secret Trick to Beating Procrastination, says Top Psychologist, and it was written by William May. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to comment on the video, or you can email me as well. Here's how cognitive reframing and a healthy dose of self-compassion can help you get things done. According to Timothy A. Seigel, PhD, a professor of psychology at Canada's Carleton University and one of the world's foremost experts on the science of procrastination, the act of procrastinating isn't nearly as simple as people think it is. Seigel says people don't engage in procrastination to avoid a task at hand, and it's not a behavior rooted in laziness. In reality, he says, procrastinators are actually trying to avoid the negative feelings associated with that task. So that's very interesting. So I'm going to say that again. Procrastinators, or when we procrastinate, we're actually trying to avoid the negative feelings associated with the task. I argue that procrastination is an emotion-focused coping response, he's explained. We use avoidance to cope with negative emotions. And with avoidance, meaning we avoid doing a task that may make us feel a negative emotion or negatively about ourselves. For example, if a task makes us feel anxious, we can eliminate the anxiety if we eliminate the task, at least in the short term. The key relation here is that negative emotions are causal to our procrastination. I can definitely speak on this from experience. So, for example, I used to have phone anxiety. So for some reason, when I make a phone call, it didn't really matter who it was to, I just feel really anxious. And a lot of times I'd feel anxious before making appointments for like going to see the doctor or something. So in the short term, I might say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow because it makes me feel anxious. But then by pushing it back, I end up feeling more anxious. So it eliminates the anxiety to an extent, but only in the short term. And you end up feeling worse in the long term the longer you push something off. So I found over time that if there's something I need to do, I might make a list of things that I'd like to accomplish. And I like to check them off because then I feel accomplished. And it's okay if you don't get everything that you want to get done every day. And over time, sometimes I'll wake up and get my phone calls done first thing in the morning, and it eliminates the anxiety for me. All right, let's continue. Procrastinators often find themselves in a vicious cycle. If there's a chore to do and they don't do it to avoid the negative feelings associated with the chore, it momentarily makes them feel good to have kicked the can down the road. Excuse me. However, those feelings eventually take an ugly turn into self-blame, stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem, all of which actually leads to more procrastination. So, like I said, if making an important phone call makes me feel anxious and I push it off a day, it may make me feel okay for that day, but in reality, it makes me feel more anxious and it makes my self-esteem lower because I keep thinking in the back of my head, why didn't I do it? I should have done it. And then it can lead to further procrastination and further negative feelings about yourself. This is why the leading psychologists say that practicing self-compassion is one of the best ways to fight procrastination. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Personality and Individual Differences found that college students who forgave themselves for procrastinating actually procrastinated less afterward. So, if you procrastinated yesterday and you forgave yourself, like, okay, I didn't make this important phone call, I forgive myself and I'm going to make it today. And I make it today. I'm less likely to keep procrastinating because I forgave myself and I wasn't too hard on myself. And I ended up accomplishing what I needed to accomplish. Another study published in the journal Self and Identity found that those who procrastinate have not only higher stress levels, but also test really low in the category of self-compassion. So, the more you procrastinate, the higher your stress is, and the lower your self-compassion or the ability to forgive yourself or give yourself a break is, which in the long run, high levels of stress can cause not only mental health issues as well as physical issues and can even shorten your lifespan. So it's important that we limit the amount of stress that we feel as much as possible, because there's always something that might cause stress in your life and that happens, but you don't want to feel overloaded to the point where you can't breathe because your stress and anxiety are so high. I think people don't realize that procrastinators, especially chronic procrastinators or people who procrastinate a lot and have for a long time, are extremely hard on themselves before and after the task. And rather than getting on with the job, they just go around and around spinning their wheels. Fuchsia Soros, PhD, a professor of psychology at the University of Sheffield, and also one of the world's top experts on procrastination, recently explained to Science Focus. According to Soros, There's another tactic you can use to beat procrastination besides simply being kinder to yourself. Cognitive reframing. In short, if you've got a task on your to-do list that you don't want to do, something that you'll likely want to procrastinate, reframe your thinking of the task by attaching meaning to it. So you're changing the way that you think about the task, potentially changing the emotions that you associate with the task so that you don't feel the need to cause more stress. It's about reappraising, Sirius explained to Science Focus, seeing something as more meaningful. And when you create meaning, you create a connection to the task. Finding meaning in the task, whether it's in relation to yourself or other people, is really, really powerful. And it's a great way to start that reappraisal process and dial down some of those negative emotions, or at least make them more manageable. Also, you're more likely to get the task done and mark it off your to-do list. So, if you're dreading having to do the dishes, first, be kind to yourself and remind yourself that it's totally normal to hate doing the dishes. Then, make the task feel more meaningful, such as thinking about how happy having a dish empty of the dirty dishes will make your partner. So within that situation, you may hate doing dishes, but forgive yourself for hating it and realize that a lot of people don't enjoy doing dishes, but it's just something that we have to do. Then associate the task with something more meaningful, such as whether it's your partner or yourself. I know for me, I might not like doing the dishes, but I like the feeling of having them clean on the other side of the sink. And not only does that make me feel better, it does make my partner feel better as well. So that is the end of that article. I want to go a little bit more into self-compassion. And that's where I found this other article in positivepsychology.com that I'm going to read and talk about a little bit. So here are some tips and techniques for practicing self-compassion. Treat yourself as you treat a friend. Let yourself make mistakes. Self-kindness and common humanity tap into two separate but related ideas. We're human, but A, so is everybody else, and B, that's okay. Rather than interpreting our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors as who we are, we can let ourselves off the hook when we might do the same for others. If a friend gets lazy and doesn't answer your phone call, you probably won't instantly assume they're a bad person. Giving yourself permission to be human once in a while is one way to accept your flaws and remind yourself that you're not alone in being imperfect. I think that raises such a great point because it's so easy to listen to a friend or a loved one talk about a mistake they may have made. And it's so much easier to give them the advice and to tell them that it's okay to mess up than to do it for ourselves. I, for one, am extremely hard on myself, and I find self-compassion difficult sometimes. But I think that looking at it from the lens of how would I treat someone I care about in this situation can really help you work through forgiving yourself for mistakes that you may make. Care for yourself as you treat others. Closely related to the previous tip, this is about being understanding and empathetic towards yourself. If a friend is feeling down, hurt, or upset, you might physically pat them on the back or hold their hand. Neff describes these as ways of tapping into our own caregiving system to release oxytocin, which has beneficial cardiovascular effects. And the cardiovascular system includes your heart. So that's great because stress also affects your heart. Along with tender, forgiving language, even using terms of endearment to yourself like darling or sweetheart, these gestures can lead us to feel self-kindness, even if we're initially reluctant. Try not to go overboard with the endearing terms if it feels too odd, of course. So, next, becoming more self-aware. Other techniques relate to being more self-aware and tapping into our self-talk. Compared to beating ourselves up for beating ourselves up, becoming aware of our internal narratives is a positive starting point for changing our self-talk. Use releasing statements. Maybe you've never been a big fan of positive affirmations. Maybe they don't feel natural, or you believe they don't quite reach your inner critic at a subconscious level. Wood, 2009. If that's the case, you might try what is colloquially referred to as releasing statements. These are closely related, if not equivalent, to many exercises in self-forgiveness and tap into the mindfulness concept of detached non-judgment. So, for example, when you catch yourself thinking a negative thought like, I'm such a horrible person for getting upset, try turning it around and releasing yourself from feeling. Instead, try, it's okay that I feel upset. I like the detachment because a lot of times when we do something that we feel guilty about or we make a mistake that we over dramatize, we internalize it as automatically that we're bad people. And that's not true. When you make a mistake, it's an action. It's something that you do. It's not you're a mistake. So sometimes for self-compassion, I think it's important to detach ourselves from our actions. So let's say, you forgot to call your mom back. That doesn't make you a horrible person, and you can forgive yourself for that and say, I regret the behavior, that I forgot, but I don't hate myself for it. All right. Try self-acceptance. This means embracing your own perceived shortcomings as well as your character strengths. Morgado, 2014. Self-compassion is about not overinflating these shortcomings into a definition of who we are. Rather, thoughts and feelings are behaviors and states. Neff, 2010. Well, that was pretty cool because I'd say that's what I was just saying. It's not who we are, but thoughts and feelings are behaviors and states. Practice mindfulness. Harvard Heartbeat suggests that mindfulness practices are a good way to center ourselves in the moment. Not only is mindfulness one of self-compassion's core constructs, but a lot of exercises such as yoga and deep breathing can be used anytime, anywhere. Kristen Neff also recommends guided nurturing meditations, including body scans and a short self-compassion break. So that's perfect because we're going to be doing a mindfulness exercise after this. Try not to judge yourself too quickly. Another tip from DiParo is to stop assuming you'll behave a certain way. It's easy to assume things like, I get really grumpy and antisocial on flights, which sometimes precludes the possibility that you'll act a different way. This is once again about treating yourself as you would others in just a future-focused way to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. So instead of saying that you get really angry or grumpy and antisocial on flights, you might want to say that in the past, there have been occasions that you got angry and antisocial on flights, but that doesn't dictate the present or the future. Just because you acted a certain way one time does not dictate how you'll act another time, because you get to decide how to act. Regaining perspective. From here, we can also zoom out to remind ourselves once more that we're connected to others, that we're part of a much bigger picture, common humanity, and adjust our focus accordingly. Here are some example tips. Let go of the need for outside validation. Author Danny DiPiro of Stay Positive, The Positively Present Guide to Life, suggests that lots of our negative thinking comes from how others perceive us. If we're beating ourselves up for eating something, for instance, a lot of that self-directed anger stems from social pressures, like the pressure to look a certain way or maintain a certain weight. Choosing not to tie our happiness to outside influences can thus be an act of self-kindness with a much larger knock-on effect. If this idea is interesting to you, there's more in this self-reliance article. So that, I would say, pertains to the whole idea of not comparing ourselves to others as well. But we always have outside pressures on us, but we can decide whether or not we're going to internalize that and allow that to affect our mood and our feelings about ourselves. So I think that that's really important, to be able to attach how we validate ourselves from how we think others see us or how we think we're supposed to be. Okay, reaching out to others. This might sound like the opposite of the above, but in fact, this technique is more about placing your feelings in context. When we talk with others, we realize that we're not alone in feeling pain at different times. It's an important part of reaffirming our sense of connectedness, reframing our perceived problems within the bigger picture, and building social support networks that are invaluable to well-being. So, if you are struggling, it's never a bad idea to reach out for help, whether it's a friend or a family member, or even getting help like therapy. When we suffer in silence, it's really hard to move past what we're going through, because as human beings, we're social creatures. So I think that the connectedness part is very important as well. And it doesn't mean that you need to tell your issues to someone in your family that you might not get along with, or, something like that. It would be someone that you trust. And lastly, here are 11 self-compassion affirmations to practice. Try these if you're a believer in the power of affirmations, and use them to replace self-criticism or remind yourself to be kind to number one. I accept the best and worst aspects of who I am. Changing is Changing is never simple, but it's easier if I stop being hard on myself. My mistakes just show that I'm growing and learning. It's okay to make mistakes and forgive myself. I am free to let go of others' judgments. It's safe for me to show kindness to myself. I deserve compassion, tenderness, and empathy from myself. I release myself with forgiveness from today and move forward with self-love to tomorrow. Every day is a new opportunity. I won't let self-doubt or judgment hold me back from the future. I forgive myself and accept my flaws because no one is perfect. And lastly, I'm not the first person to have felt this way, and I won't be the last, but I'm growing. Wow, I think those are great. I'm going to put those up on my wall. All right, so that is some techniques of increasing your self-compassion. Cognitive reframing is a bit more complicated because it's really about how you think about actions and changing the way you think. However, an excellent resource for cognitive reframing is a book called Mind Over Mood. And you can look up a lot of things as well online, but like they said in the article, if you associate a different feeling with a task, it can help you accomplish it. Like, I'll read this again. If you're dreading having to do the dishes, first, the self-compassion, be kind to yourself and remind yourself that it's totally normal to hate doing dishes. Then make the task feel more meaningful, such as thinking about how happy having an empty dish out of the dirty dishes will make your partner. So changing the way you think about the task by attaching meaning to it. I'm trying to give maybe another example. So how about this? Okay, so let's say you have an assignment due for school or for work, and it's the weekend's coming up or something. So it's like a big paper, something's due on Monday. Most people don't enjoy writing long papers, so that's okay to not like doing that. However, if you get the paper done, let's say by Saturday, then you have all of Sunday to reward yourself and maybe go spend time with family or go to a birthday party or get some ice cream or something like that. So just knowing how much better you'll feel if you don't wait till the last minute, I think can help you motivate yourself to accomplish something. All right. Now, lastly, I'm going to walk us through a mindfulness exercise. It's called progressive muscle relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise that reduces stress and anxiety in your body by having you slowly tense and then relax each muscle. This exercise can provide an immediate feeling of relaxation, but it's best to practice frequently. With experience, you will become more aware of when you are experiencing tension, and you will have the skills to help you relax. During this exercise, each muscle should be tensed, but not to the point of strain or to the point of it hurting. If you have any injuries or pain, you can skip the affected area. Pay special attention to the feeling of releasing tension in each muscle and the resulting feeling of relaxation. Let's begin. So you can sit or lie down in a comfortable position. If you're sitting in a chair, please have your feet flat on the floor, and you can have your hands on your legs or to your sides. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. Begin by taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Release the breath slowly and let the tension leave your body. Take in another deep breath and hold it. Again, slowly release the air. Even slower now, take another breath. Fill your lungs and hold the air. Slowly release the breath and imagine the feeling of tension leaving your body. Now, move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes and the arch of your foot. Hold on to the tension and notice what it feels like. Release the tension in your foot. Notice the new feeling of relaxation. Next, begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calf. Hold them tightly and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower leg. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Remember to continue taking deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper leg and pelvis. You could do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain or pain. And release. Feel the tension leave your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Squeeze harder and hold the tension a little bit longer. Release the tension. Allow your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation. Continue taking deep breaths. Breathe in slowly, noticing the air fill your lungs, and hold it. Release the air slowly. Feel it leaving your lungs. Next, Tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulders together behind you. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining and keep holding. Release the tension from your back. Feel the tension slowly leaving your body and a new feeling of relaxation. Notice how different your body feels when you allow it to relax. Tense your arms all the way from your hands to your shoulders. Make a fist and squeeze all the way up your arm. Hold it. Release the tension from your arms and shoulders. Notice the feeling of relaxation in your fingers, arms, and shoulders. Notice how your arms feel limp and at ease. Move up to your neck and your head. Tense your face and your neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Release the tension. Again, notice the new feeling of relaxation. Finally, tense your entire body. Tense your feet, legs, stomach, chest, arms, head, and neck. Tense harder without straining. Hold the tension. Now release. Allow your whole body to go limp. Pay attention to the feeling of relaxation and how different it is from the feeling of tension. Begin to wake your body up by slowly moving your muscles. Adjust your arms and legs. Stretch your muscles and open your eyes when you're ready. I like that one. I normally don't always do it all when I'm doing it with all of y'all on the Wednesday workshops, but I actually did it that time and it felt really nice. All right, so here is the end of our Wednesday workshop with Whitney. Thank you all for coming. Please like and subscribe if you would like. Leave a comment if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas of topics for future Wednesday workshops with Whitney. I hope you all have a wonderful day.